Welcome to the Reinvent Your World broadcast. My name is Donna Woolham and I'm your host. My goal is for every woman to know that God loves you and He's for you. And no matter where you are today, you can start right now and create an incredible new life. Let's get started into the show, okay? Hey there, and welcome to today's broadcast. And I just want to say thank you again. This is Donna, and today we're going to be talking about 10 mindset traps that keep us stuck. Now, listen, I understand over the last couple of weeks we've had, some topics that aren't as fun to discuss. We talked about negativity. This week we're talking about mindset. But here's what I've learned. That you can't have real transformation unless you have revelation, and you can't have revelation until you are honest about the place that you are in. So today we're going to be talking about some mindsets that we have found ourselves planted in, and we're going to dig a little deeper in that. So let's get started. The reality is all of us have some mindsets that aren't so great and some mindsets that are great and serve us, but our mindsets get created as a protection mode. They are developed over time through example, through experience, and we do this because we're trying to make sense of the world around us. And if we've had any kind of disappointment or trauma or loss, then we are creating these mindsets around those experiences. I heard a long time ago, and I love this, that children don't believe in gravity until the first time they fall off of the fence or the first time the bike falls over. Then after that, they are afraid of falling, and we are. Some of us, though, are adrenaline junkies, but some of us don't want to get too close to the edge because we know the power of gravity. And that even reminds me of a story of whenever I was a kid, because I used to climb across the top bar of our swing set. I would just walk across that. I thought that I was a high beam walker. I would walk across the skinny, narrow planks on the wooden fence that lived next door to us, even though we had a chain link fence with points of death coming up from the top of that. But as an adult, I would really get nervous about being close to the edge of anything. And during the pregnancy of my second son, I had some terrifying moments of heights. So isn't it interesting that I once was so brave, maybe a little bit crazy out there on the edge of the fence, but as I got older, I created this mindset and this point of view that made heights a bad thing and a scary thing when it used to just be the way that I lived my life. And who knows, maybe I created that fear of heights because of situations of walking across the top of the swing set. Who even knows? What I can say is that it's something I pray about now and really want to have freedom to just be out there on the high beam again. I'm going to talk about 10 mindsets that can trap us. And then I'm going to go back and talk about some ways that we can overcome those and how we can have maybe an opposite side. There's this law of polarity. And I heard this not too long ago, and it really captured my imagination. Maybe it will yours too. That it doesn't matter how thinly you slice a piece of bread, there's always going to be two sides of that piece of bread. Or there's always two sides of a coin. It's that rule of polarity. There is a positive and a negative. And so for each of these mindsets that are negative, that can get us trapped, there is the positive side where we can work toward being more free in our life. And just again, to remind you, the mindsets that we've created have been to protect ourselves from whatever trauma, experience, any of those things. But what we want to do is learn to put our trust in the Lord, and that He is the one who is our rescuer and our protector and our provider. And as we begin to learn to trust Him more and His plans and His purposes for us, then we can lay down these different things. So, first of all, first mindset that I've talked about, and you can read those over on my website at donnawoolham.com. I also have a video about these that you can watch on my YouTube channel. It's Donna Woolham Belief Revolution. So you can find those over there if you want to go into some more detail. But the first one that I want to talk about is the fixed mindset. And a fixed mindset says, this is the way things are. They're always going to be that way. There's not going to be anything different in life around that our abilities or intelligence or our situation, they are static, they cannot change, and nothing can be different. And so we really find ourselves stuck there, because if things are the way they are and they're never going to change, then it really takes a lot of responsibility off of us to be able to bring any change. It's the way it is. It's a fatalist idea. Next, we have a victim mindset. And this can be the belief that life happens to you and you have no control over your circumstances, that external forces, past experiences are what keep us stuck, and that means we are helpless and powerless to have any change. Fear-based. Now, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? We have a fear of failure, or a fear of success, a fear of judgment, or a fear of the unknown. And that fear keeps us from being able to step into a new kind of reasoning. And we even fear, when we have a fear-based mindset, that if we change our thought patterns, we're going to be really uncomfortable and maybe even face rejection. The next one I want to talk about is the scarcity mindset. And instead of seeing things from the abundance point of view, that God is a God of abundance, that He has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness, that our God shall supply all our need according to His riches and glory by Christ Jesus, that instead of looking on blessing and gratitude and thankfulness, this mindset focuses on the lack and what's not there, lack of resources or opportunity or even God's favor, and that you don't have and you won't have what you need to grow or succeed. And I do believe that this is founded in the Garden of Eden, because what Satan did was speak to Adam and Eve not about the abundance that God had given them of every tree of the garden. He had them focus on what they did not have, which was the opportunity to eat from that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They had everything else. And if you think about it, God never told them that they couldn't eat from the tree of life. They just never did. They didn't have any idea that the life that they had would ever be different. So Satan comes along and says, God is trying to keep something from you. And that was the birth of that scarcity mindset. The next one that we can think about is this perfectionist mindset, that if you don't have everything figured out perfectly, you shouldn't try to change anything at all. And this can be paralyzing, because this mindset needs to have every step planned, everything perfect before moving forward. On the companion to that, there's a couple of those, but one of those is a self-judgment mindset, which can say, well, you didn't have everything perfect, so you're not good enough, or you don't deserve change. And this self-judgment can keep us anchored to negative thoughts about ourselves, because it is about self-judgment. There is a hopeless mindset that believes that change is impossible, or that the situation that you're in is beyond redemption. And so this mindset is just resigned to a deep sense of being stuck, and that there's really just no hope outside of that. Another one is the comfort zone mindset. And that's where let's just stay right here where we are. It's nice and comfortable here. Now, I might not be doing great. Might not be changing the world. I might not be the healthiest I've ever been, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I can stay right here and everything will be okay. Because change can feel really risky or uncomfortable. Number 9 is a comparison mindset, and this is where we are constantly comparing ourselves to others, and that either makes you feel inadequate or I'm so much better than they are. So things are so great and I'm so wonderful that I don't need to make any changes, or I'm so inadequate, or I just will never have any transformation or change. So I just, it's impossible. I just really can't make any changes. It's just too hard. And you've heard this before. We compare ourselves on our worst day to someone else's best day. And we live in a social media world where people post all the best things about their families. They post all the best things about their job. They post all of that kind of stuff. And so we look at someone else's life and think, well, my life is too ordinary, or it's just not good enough, or who would ever listen to me, or I don't have anything worthwhile to say. The 10th one is a control mindset. And the control mindset says, I need to control every aspect of my life, of my thinking. And it really makes it hard to let go and allow God to have any kind of work or authority in the life that we're living. We're just stuck there in that place, in that moment. So at any time, you may be involved in 1 or 2 or 3 of these kinds of mindsets. And I know I have been. I know I've been stuck in those places, and it depends on what's going on in the world around me, what's happened recently, what I'm afraid might happen in the future, and we can really get stuck in those moments. But what I've learned is, as I said at the very beginning, if we can learn to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, good, bad, or indifferent, this is the way I am in this moment, then I can receive some revelation and some new information, which we'll talk about next week, because we're talking about reasoning this week and the way that we look at the world. When I can get some new revelation, that can be the catalyst to bring change in my life. So I want to talk about the opposite side of these. And it doesn't mean it's 100% the other direction, but this is what we can be focused toward instead. So if you know that you struggle with a fixed mindset, it's important to know that you can transform that and have a growth mindset, which is that you can begin to believe and know that your abilities and your intelligence and what you bring to the table can be developed. You can learn new things, you can persevere and do new things, and with a disciplined life, you can bring transformation. You don't have to have, it's always been this way, so it will always be this way, kind of a mindset. You can transform that into a life of growth and development. And number 2 is, we talked about having a victim mindset. The other side of the coin, as you will, is the empowered mindset. And what happens then is that instead of feeling like life is happening to you and you have no power or choice, you can walk into an empowered mindset where you begin to take responsibility for your life and your choices and your responses, knowing that you do have power to influence your future. You are not a victim of circumstances. What I can tell you, and I hate this truth, but it's the truth because it's the truth. And so I say this to you with all love, that if you're an adult of any age, the life that you're living right now is a result of the choices and decisions you have made, not what others have done to you. We have the power to have a different kind of response. That doesn't mean that the things that we've gone through are good, but we can begin to trust the truth that God can turn all things for our good, that He can, what Joseph said to his brothers, you meant it for evil, but God has turned it to good. And so we do not have to be a victim of the things that have happened to us or around us. We can make a new choice and become empowered to have a different kind of life. The next one, number 3, is that fear-based mindset that holds us captive and in prison and terrified to make any different moves. And we can begin to have a courageous mindset that we can face those fears, we can look at them squarely, and despite any kind of uncertainty that we might have, we can trust that growth will come by us taking one step forward, one step forward, one step forward. And you may have heard me tell this story before. It was a few months, less than a year after my husband Richard passed away, that I found myself at the Frio River at a conference, and I was next to that beautiful clear water, and I was standing with my toes in that clear water, and it just looked like a mirror. It was just incredible. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and He said, Donna, one step by one step, I will lead you. When we are afraid, it's hard for us to take just one step out. But when we trust that the Lord is leading us and guiding us in paths of righteousness for His name's sake, we can take one step and we can say, I don't know what's out there in my future, but I do know that God is with me. It's that old saying, I don't know who holds tomorrow, but I know who holds my hand, right? Along with fear-based is often this mindset trap of scarcity, that there's not enough, that we're not enough. It's where imposter syndrome can show up, that who am I to say anything to anyone? I can tell you that imposter syndrome loves to play around in my head and say, who are you, Donna, to have anything to say? And all I know to say is, hey, listen, I've been through some things and God has brought me through some things and He has helped me. And I know I can help others because of that. This scarcity mindset on the other side is abundance. To believe that there is more than enough. There is more than enough opportunity for you. There's more than enough love for you. There's more than enough resources for you. And not just for you, but for everyone. And that you can have a heart that is open to receive that abundance from God. And I heard a long time ago a preacher say, the Lord went into abundance, took out abundance, and abundance remained still. There is no lack in God. And when we are centering our life in Him and we are living on assignment for what He's called us to, He's promised that we will have everything that we need. There is enough, and you are enough in Him. Number 5 is that perfectionist mind trap, and the opposite of that is progress-oriented. So instead of feeling like, oh, I have to have everything right, I have to have everything put together perfectly, is just know that consistent improvement is good. Perfection is unattainable, but growth and progress are always possible. And instead of saying practice makes perfect, learn to say practice makes better. We're not after perfect. We're after better. We're after doing better today than we did yesterday, better tomorrow than we did today. We're just moving forward. There is only one perfect one. And lovely, I'm not it and you're not it. But Christ is the perfect one. God is the perfect one. And he's just leading us and guiding us and helping us until more and more and more of his Son is revealed in us. On the other side of that, and you can see how these live hand in hand, perfectionist and then self-judgment. We've got a fixed and victim, a fear-based and scarcity. We've got perfectionist, and here we are at self-judgment. And instead of being self-judging, how about practicing some self-compassion and treating yourself with kindness and understanding, and realizing that mistakes and setbacks are part of life, and failure is part of all of our experience, and being able to take failure and use it as a platform and a launching ground for better is a good thing. But if you're always judging yourself and saying, you're so stupid, how could you be so stupid? Why did you not do that? How come you didn't know that? How come you didn't do that? Then we are beating ourselves down. And there's a lot of reasons why we may carry that with ourselves. But think about it. If you would not want someone to say those words to the person that you love the most, then why in the world would you be saying those things to yourself? Hopelessness. Things will never change. Instead, hopeful. To have a hopeful mindset. To have a faith that knows that things can improve and that the future holds incredible possibilities even when we can't see the full picture. Now listen, I've done lots and lots and lots of teaching and training on having a hope mindset and being carried along by hope. You can read those articles over on my website too. And there's even some videos that I've done in podcast episodes. In fact, I have a whole series of interviews here on the podcast that I've done with women talking about moving through very difficult circumstances into a life of hope and expectation. So check those out. They'll be a help to you. Number 8 is the comfort zone mindset trap, and just being hesitant to move outside what is comfortable and known into a growth-seeking mindset, and challenging yourself to embrace discomfort as a path to the personal development that you want, and pushing beyond what is the familiar, what's the easy, what's the normal, what's the standard. So think about this. If you're going to get stronger through exercise, one of the things that you have to do is to put tension on those muscles. You have to put tension on your lungs and on your heart to make them grow stronger and have more capacity. If the physical body shows that, how much more does our mindset need that to be challenged, to continue to learn new things and to press out a little bit and understand that in those places of discomfort is where we grow in strength. Number 9 is comparison, where we're always looking at someone else, how great they are and how poor we are, or how awesome we are and how stupid everyone else is. Instead of that, let's just focus on authenticity. Let's just look at ourselves and be authentic and honest and real about where we are. Understand you have a unique journey that's different from every other person's journey. Your path is completely different. And let's just stop the comparison. Listen, I'm not a coach like other coaches are. I have a very particular life experience and a call in my life to help women who have experienced some really strong setbacks and some difficulties. I'm not a therapist and I'm not a counselor. I work with women who say, okay, I've come to this point and I'm just stuck. I need some help to move forward. I need someone to help me be real and authentic with myself and to look at why I'm stuck and help me get out of it. I can't be a coach like other people. I'm not a speaker like other people. I haven't written like other people. I am called to do the work I'm called to do. You are called to be the woman that you're called to be. Let's be authentic. Let's be real. And let's value the journey that you're on instead of comparing it to someone else's. Now, the final one is, instead of having a control mindset where everything has to be under your order and your ability to make it work correctly, which probably goes hand in hand with that perfectionism mindset, is a trusting mindset, which really is being willing to just let go of every outcome, trust the process, knowing that God is leading us and things will unfold as they are meant to. Now, this goes back to that taking responsibility for what you can take responsibility for. Be honest with yourself. Let's not be a victim. Let's not get stuck and say, oh, well, it's fate. It's the way it's going to be. But to really understand that your life is in the hands of God. As a Christian woman, as someone who has given your heart and your mind and your life to Christ, He is leading you and guiding you. I'll say it 100,000 more times. He is leading and guiding us in paths of righteousness for His name's sake, to trust Him. So instead of avoiding difficult things, let's embrace those things as opportunities and know that failure is a stepping stone. It's just one of the things that we go through for success. That the work that we do leads us to mastery, that we can be open to constructive criticism and not be defensive when those things come up, and just learn to be refined by it. Believe in your capacity that you can learn anything. It may not be easy, but you can learn it. You just take the time, have curiosity and persistence, and know that growth is possible. Be celebratory of others' success and your own. To invest time to where you're saying, wow, you did such a great job. And then giving yourself a high five and say, you know what? You rocked that. You go. And be inspired by other people's successes and be inspired by your own. Learn to focus on the process and not just the outcome, because we are growing day by day, glory to glory, step upon step, one step by one step. Really learn to stay adaptable and open to new approaches that the Lord might bring to you. Maybe you've never thought about coaching before, but some of these things we've talked about, have thought, hey, maybe I could talk to somebody. Or maybe you've not ever thought about journaling your thoughts out. So maybe journaling would be a good thing. So be flexible and willing to explore some new strategies or perspectives. Don't let setbacks set you down. Take advantage of those. Be persistent. And instead of giving up when things go wrong, just stay determined and view those setbacks as temporary and just part of the process of your growth. And to trust that growth will come through your efforts and your persistence and your perseverance. Perseverance, it's that old saying, slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. So what we're after is a resilient life, because there are lots of things that hit us. And if you faced loss of some kind, the loss of a parent or a spouse or a child, divorce or separation, maybe the job that you loved forever ended and now you don't know what you're going to do, or you've had to move away from all your friends into a new community, you really don't know anyone. Listen, all of those things can call up the coping mechanisms, the survival mechanisms that we have planted in our lives in the early days of life. Being honest, being vulnerable, looking at ourselves honestly and say, I know that in this moment I'm operating in this mindset, but instead I want to operate in a different way. I want to face life in a new way. That is the power of authenticity and honesty. And again, I want to encourage you to go over to my website and read the articles that are over there. I've done a lot of series. In fact, I'm in a complete series over there right now called The Journey to Wholeness. And it is about the path that we take to go from this broken and scared and feeling powerless kind of life all the way to the abundant life that God has for us. And some of the steps that I've taken, some of the steps I've helped others take, and what the Lord is showing me day by day in the journey. And you can watch those over there, read those over there, or you can listen to other episodes of this podcast, or you can go over to YouTube and watch some of those. But what I want you to know is that if you have questions, I would love to hear from you. If you have comment or feedback, maybe some things that you'd like to hear me elaborate on, then I hope that you'll reach out to me here. And if this episode has been helpful for you, would you do me a favor and would you share that to your favorite people and let them know what's going over here on the Reinvent Your World podcast? I would love that. And so I just want to end saying I pray that the God of peace will cover you and comfort you, that you will know that God is for you and that God is helping you, and that you are not alone in the journey. God bless. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really hope that something that you heard helped you to be encouraged and inspired. And in fact, if it has, would you do me a favor? Would you please just share this with a friend of yours? And join me over on social media on Facebook and Instagram. Well, you know, wherever you are, I'm probably there too. But be sure and go to the website, donnawoolham.com, and grab the free resources that we have for you. Thanks again, and have a wonderful Living at My Best day.